Hello and welcome to the Superhero Show. I'm Daniel, this is Chris, and we're here every week talking about all things superheroic. That sort of thing. We're going to try something a little bit different today. We're going to do a really long episode. We're going to talk about something up top, we're going to do feedback, and then at the end of the show, we're going to go into a spoilerific chat about Daredevil, which is obviously on Netflix right now. So if you haven't seen it, we're going to talk about the first two episodes.
I was going to say, it's relatively spoilery because we've only seen two of them.
Yeah, but if you've not seen any of it, you might want to come back and watch that at a later date.
Mm-hmm.
But first off, the conversation of the week, we're going to talk about superhero costumes because we've seen quite a lot of new ones recently.
Yes.
And we just want to talk about the new ones we've seen and then pick up some of our favourites and then maybe some really bad offenders.
Yes.
Like some awful ones.
Yeah, offensive.
Yeah, so should we talk about the new ones first?
Yeah. There's been some good stuff.
Yeah, so...
We got a look... Well, let's start with Daredevil. We'll come back to him at the end of the show, but... They released a poster, which I was kind of disappointed that they did that because
I know,
they've
so
kept
close.
it a secret right up to the show premiering. I guess it's good publicity for people to share this, but we didn't know what he was going to look like.
I wonder if it was part of their plan to release it because it got leaked, and then I wonder if they thought, oh, let's get our official one out there and clear up this mess. But even when I got the press release about it, it said in big kind of yellow writing at the top, spoiler.
Yeah,
it's like, well.
Yeah, don't send it to us then.
Spoiled your show before it's gone live.
When I first saw it, I thought it was a fake.
Yeah.
Because it's so similar to the, I guess that's what they planned, but the first poster of him, blind Matt Murdock, it just looked like someone had kind of stuck the outfit on top of that same guy.
It's weird, I almost feel like, because of the thing underneath his chin, it looks less like Charlie Cox. I thought it was a different person. It's fine, and also, I'm a bit, wary of judging it too much yet without seeing it lit properly and in action,
exactly,
and seeing the full body. It's fine. I really, in the first two episodes, I've got really used to the black outfit. I think it looks really cool.
It does look cool.
It's just because there's not much to it, and it just looks quite badass. Whereas that is obviously it's red, and it looks like Kevlar. It looks a bit more like a combat suit, which makes sense because
he's kind of like a ninja at the moment, though.
From
what we've seen,
that's what he is. He is basically a ninja. He's trained as a ninja. Whereas he probably needs something a bit more substantial if he's going to go out and do this every single night in this realistic world. But
we've recently seen another costume, haven't we, in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah,
that would be Deadpool.
I've seen loads of it.
Yeah.
See so much of it.
A very kind of funny Deadpool-y shot of him lying in front of a log fire.
That was the announcement. And obviously for the April Fools, we had the video of him in character. Ryan Reynolds was actually in that suit. Killing, ostensibly, AC Slater.
Yep.
And there's been loads of leaked pictures this week, which we can't show for legal reasons. But there's lots of Deadpool out there if you want to get a good look of him in costume.
Yeah.
And it's spot on.
Him on the toilet.
Yeah, reading about Deadpool's
death. Yeah, it looks great. And what were you were telling me something I was quite interested in.
Yeah, so I read about this because in, a lot of these characters in the comic books, it's like Batman as well. Snyder's current run and Greg Capullo's current run on Batman. It's amazing how much emotion they can inject into that character by literally changing the white triangles on the mask.
Yeah.
Just in shape. And similar with Deadpool with the white eyes.
Yeah.
And I've seen pictures of Ryan Reynolds with the black kind of surrounding of the eyes has little dots on where they're going to manipulate it in post-production using CGI, so he'll have more expressive eyes, so it won't be just like that dead mask look that you get with Green Goblin. It's going to be animated.
No, that's cool. There's lots of little ways they're making it different to what we saw before on screen.
Yeah, and I almost think I wonder if there's a couple of reasons why they're taking this approach with Deadpool, because they know they mucked up the character big time first time out in Wolverine Origins. So they have something to atone for there. But also, this kind of campaign really suits what the character is. And maybe a lot of people who maybe don't watch this show don't know what Deadpool's all about as a concept and what he brings to this, what he'll bring to his own movie, that kind of fourth wall breaking. So all these kind of publicity stunts, jokes that Ryan Reynolds making, is kind of prepping people for this character. Yeah,
it's really smart the way they're using social media on this. And I feel like it's only going to ramp up the nearer we get to film's release.
Definitely. And then the final one we're going to talk about, not so much a costume.
It's not a costume, Dan.
A caricature.
It's a CGI creation.
Appearance of something that we want to see. So we've seen two stills of The Thing.
The Thing.
Entertainment Weekly had two pictures of
there he is. I haven't even seen that one.
There he is, hitting stuff.
Well, he looks granity and rocky, doesn't he?
We're going to do this for 15 minutes. We're going to analyse this picture for 15 minutes. some people complaining he doesn't have a prominent monobrow, which is a thing.
I didn't know that was
Some people have actually taken to Photoshop to tweak him,
right?
So he has more prominent. Because I think sometimes, and I think this is maybe the discussion to be had when we get onto our picks, is the thing, because obviously Michael, I can never pronounce this, Chiklis, played him in the original Chiklis. And people, that was a suit, and people responded certain ways to that. Is how much you want it to be what it is on the page. Like, I want that reproduced because, costume departments could do that if they wanted in a lot of cases, and some of our picks, that works really well. But then sometimes you need to adapt it. And I think that version of the thing is monstrous enough to work with what I think Trank's going for.
Yeah. It's superhuman, isn't it?
It's quite scary as well, whereas the thing can be quite friendly looking, I think.
Although it does remind me a little bit of, is it in Galaxy Quest, the rock monster in that?
Oh yeah, I haven't thought about that.
I'm getting visions of that when I'm looking at him. But again, we're looking at a still, like, we can't pass judgment until we see this in action.
See it in motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our favourites.
Okay, do you want to go first?
No.
I'm going to go first.
Why not?
Well, I'll go first then. Speaking about ones that are really kind of faithful, I've picked, actually, the Spider-Man costume from Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Controversial.
Well, it's interesting because it's pretty much identical to the Tobey Maguire era, which is actually really interesting because Amazing Spider-Man 1, they came out and actually went for a very different looking suit. Obviously, still looks like Spider-Man, not total reinvention, but it had very different colouring, patterning, and it looked, you overuse the word, but like they were going for something a bit more edgy, a bit more streetwise. And then for 2, they kind of returned to this look, which is just, it's kind of like perfect, really. I think like you've reproduced something in the real world that you've only seen in the pages of a comic book, and like from the mask to the outfit to the colouring, it's all pretty much what you'd want in a Spider-Man outfit. So I just feel that's really hard to kind of like fault for anything.
Yeah,
and it just looks great in motion.
Yeah.
It's just super iconic, and it's close to the original design.
It's kind of the culmination of where we're at now in terms of effects, and combining CGI and costume and everything. Like we are in an amazing place right now.
Yeah, and I think it's also great. It's just an amazing testament to just how iconic the original design for Spider-Man was. Like
better than the film.
Oh, yeah, best thing, the costume.
I'm going to go for one that's not a hugely famous character, but he's called the Rocketeer. And it's a bit tough to find a good still of him online, actually. This film's from quite a long time ago. It's from 1991. But I just think it looks damn cool. It looks cooler when he's got the helmet on, if I'm honest. That's Billy Campbell. But it's kind of an improvised superhero costume. And I kind of like that lo-fi. It's set in the 1940s. And he's a guy he's a pilot who finds a rocket pack designed by Howard Hughes. And I just think the whole thing comes together. He's got the gold helmet, the tan leather jacket, the riding breeches, the riding boots, the gloves. He's got kind of one of those little Mauser pistols. And I just think he looks really cool. And we haven't got a picture of him flying through the air. But we've got a poster, Rich, that we can put up. Yeah, so there are the posters. Like, it's a really iconic outfit as well. You can see him flying in the top corner there, and I think that's one of the best posters ever made. That one.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I just like it for it's kind of lo-fi. There's a romanticism to that one. That's kind of, it's a bit Indiana Jones, and I like my period superhero movies anyway.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. Like, it's improvised. Like a lot of these films have like the early iteration of the suit is improvised. Like Spider-Man's basically his pajamas. Yeah, and Daredevil's first one is just black outfits and boots and going for it. I think my next one it's a little bit more elaborate, but obviously you could trace it back to the Rocketeer in some ways.
Sure,
it is Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Yeah, from the Robert Downey Jr. movie, the first one. I think this was maybe the very first image they released. It was definitely amongst that set. Just look at that; it's just amazing.
Again, iconic,
spot on, and it's obviously similar to the Ali Granov treatment of the Iron Man outfit. It just looks amazing, and when you actually saw it in motion, the way he moved in it, obviously it's a functional outfit, much more than other superheroes.
Yep.
A lot of superheroes are wearing it for different reasons. Batman to create a feeling of intimidation. Spider-Man's to hide his identity. That is his power. It's the product of his genius. And to see it so well realised, I think it's phenomenal, that outfit.
Yeah,
And again, like combination, like you're saying, of CGI and practical kind of prosthetics.
Yeah, and it was really nice in that first movie, the way you saw it, the evolution of
Yeah.
the outfit was really interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
And my other choice is probably the most iconic superhero shot in movie history, Superman. It's no secret I'm a big Christopher Reeve fan, aren't we all? And there's something about that outfit that I love. It takes me back to childhood. The colours are so bright and vibrant, and the material they use, it really kind of jumps off the screen. And they could have given him a muscle suit, or he could have, this Superman doesn't need muscles. He's an alien. He's got the strength within him. And interestingly, the modern day superhero, for whatever reason, in different movies, they feel the need for different iterations, maybe to keep the audience happy, maybe to keep the toy makers happy, I don't know. But this Superman outfit stayed pretty much the same for 4 movies. The only time they changed it, and that's what made it so interesting, when they did change it, was Superman 3, when he was evil Superman and they muted all the colours on him. It was really effective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what the things they changed, they made the S bigger than it was in the comics. And it was interesting what they did with that in the movie. They turned it into the family crest, which was something that wasn't in the comics, that I think worked really well. But yeah, the little V with the boots, and I just think everything about
I love
that.
how like sincere it is, like not self-conscious whatsoever. Like that's Superman.
Yeah,
right? It's not trying to be clever or adapt it.
And for me, that will always be the Superman outfit. They kept it. Bryan Singer kept it pretty similar.
He really
for
tried
his,
to, Like he used, obviously, like there was leather in it, and they tried to update it, but it still had the same sort of romanticism as the original.
And it's just that the Zack Snyder version just isn't as memorable. It was different, and they had to go their own way. But yeah, for me, it's that one. That's my number one.
So those are our favourite superhero outfits.
Yeah.
Now let's get on to some absolute bloody atrocities.
Well, I'm confused. Why didn't we pick any Batman for our favourites? Surely Batman is
again so heavily iterated on the Batman. Like,
for me, I don't know what to pick as well, because I'll always be a Michael Keaton guy.
Yeah.
But then maybe the Christian Bale one was a better outfit, or maybe Batman Returns was.
There's so many different. I don't really like when Batman gets too like technical, like combat gear. And in Nolan's world, he needed that.
Yeah.
He needed, because otherwise he was going to get stabbed.
Yeah.
When he went out. But I really like. They'll never do it on film exactly like. There's a great Batman fan film called Dead End, where he ends up fighting the Predator. But anyway, in that, it's really famous. It's so good. And they go for like the Frank Miller, Dark Knight, silk, kind of like material suit. And it looks amazing. But I feel like in a lot of the treatments when we see it, has to be a bit more kind of practical than that. One that I don't want to ever see again is kind of the Joel Schumacher years. Now, there's many suits from that era that we could have picked. But I think I'm going to go for this triumvirate, which is just... Oh my god!
It's a hat trick of horrendous,
hopeless
horror.
Because obviously, one of the things that people always criticise is the nipples, and there's only a couple of nipples amongst these 3 suits.
Yeah.
But
are you talking about the 2 people at the side of him? They're 2 nipples.
I'm just staggered. I'm lost for words. But I think these are almost worse because it's so garish and it's so tacky that he wouldn't. Why? In what world, apart from Joel Schumacher's incarnation of Batman, would he wear something?
Well, there was
so
no secret
garish?
that they got upset with Batman Returns. Warner Brothers did, because how can you sell a Happy Meal about the Penguin and what was going on in that movie? So he was trying to take it back to. Give it back to the kids, but this looks like something out of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or something. This is something you'd see on a Saturday morning kids club, and it's not the Batman that's in the movie either. No,
it's just it's jarring. I think that's the thing. Like, it should be like a celebratory moment when you see the superhero don the suit. It's like, yes, they've become who they really are, and that is just distracting.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like it's like a car or something.
It feels to me like, it's a shiny thing for a kid to see in a toy store and want to buy.
Yeah.
Rather than the dark black knight.
And along that line, I would say when I saw Batman Forever as a kid, I really liked the Val Kilmer suit, the one he wears at the beginning. So there is something to that. I actually thought it was really cool because it was like metallic. But then you acquire a taste and you realise it's god-awful.
Well, I'm staying in the Batman universe for my least favourite outfit. And before we put it up, actually, I nearly went for Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman as one of my favourites. I think that's really a really good, cool, sexy, interesting outfit. But I didn't pick it because I could talk about it in this one, because my worst is Halle Berry's Catwoman. Now, as a red-blooded male, you know, there's something to be said for that, but it should be in a porno, not in a superhero movie. Like, what is this? It's like Batman crossed with an S&M club. It's just, and it's trying so hard. It's trying so hard to be sexy, like that film is, and it just fails on every level. That's one of the most beautiful women in the world, one of these great, empowering sexual characters, and they just turned it into
filth.
Just sort of softcore,
sordid
nonsense. I just hate it. The rips up it, the high heels, the claws.
Maybe we should stop looking at it though. So
I can't stop looking at it.
And that's the genius of it.
But you know, I think they nailed it with the Pfeiffer Catwoman. I think the Hathaway Catwoman looked great, and I think this one was just an abomination, much like the movie was.
Oh god! So those are some of our favourites, and some of our particularly bad ones. We'd love to hear what your favourites, and even the ones you hate. Write to us, superhero@ign.com.
Especially the ones you hate.
Yeah, because I'm still waiting on the really iconic X-Men suits. Really, I think they've done some okay ones, but I don't think they've been consistently great.
I actually preferred the retro ones to the
yellow
ones.
And blue ones. I thought they were good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We can talk about this all day.
Yeah, keep on going.
Let's do some feedback. And last week we asked if superhero movies are ruining Hollywood, and we got lots of feedback on that front. I picked 4 or 5 good ones. So the first is from Josh Green, who sent us a very long email, which was a great email, but I just picked out a little bit. He says, these days, what movie isn't a superhero movie? Superhero movies to me is a protagonist v antagonist with the theme element of sci-fi or fantasy adventure thrown in the background for good measure. This would make Star Wars, Transformers, Pacific Rim, Star Trek superhero movies. Even stuff like Tron, Men in Black, Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. You get my point, it's more or less the same thing. And I think that is pretty fair.
Yeah, I think it's lazy to group them together.
It's the hero's journey, isn't it? It's Joseph Campbell.
It's mythic.
Yeah.
It's there underpinning everything. Your nemesis is back, Henry Higgins, who doesn't like your pick.
To my Colonel Pickering. I love My Fair Lady.
If the superhero movies were all the same with only the characters swapped out, then the creative point you discuss might be valid. But with the diversity of actors and directors being used, the movies, even the MCU, where they are in a shared universe, have different tones and aesthetics. Which is, a similar point. That we group them all together because they're all based on Marvel or DC properties.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of diversity that gets overlooked. It's a good point, Henry.
And we're going to get more diversity, aren't we? We're going to get an African superhero. We're going to get a bunch of female superheroes.
Also genres. We're going to get supernatural Marvel movies through Doctor Strange. So we're going to see lots of different sides.
I hope it's scary, that one.
Yeah.
Next up, I've got a really long email from Adam Woodhouse, which I'm not going to read out. But there were lots of really good points, but it was too long. He did say, though... he says, sorry for the exceedingly long reply, but I thought Birdman was really relevant to the show this week and maybe deserved more of a mention in the show. And I agree, we should have talked about Birdman a bit more. He's given a bunch of reasons why Birdman is great and clever and shows that superhero movies aren't ruining Hollywood, but I can't read them all out here. But I agree with you.
We have read them.
Yeah, and we have talked about Birdman.
Yeah.
Great choice.
Cool.
Great movie.
Adam Pell from Northampton has written in, something I've noticed in recent weeks is that people are no longer referring to Civil War as Captain America 3 Civil War. It's almost as if people are thinking of it as Avengers 3 rather than Captain America 3, especially since Spider-Man's appearance was announced. Do you think it's possible that because the story was developed for Cap, other characters like Black Panther, Spider-Man, even Iron Man may have smaller roles than most are anticipating? So we've got too hung up on the idea of these other characters being integral to it.
Well, I really am thinking about it as Avengers 3, so I'm interested to see how it isn't.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think I've mentioned this on the show before. I feel we're getting to a point where all these movies are like Marvel 12, basically, because there's so much overlap. Like, we're going to speak about Ragnarok in a minute. I imagine that's going to involve loads of characters. It's almost like using Civil War. It's a crossover movie. The point where these are all now not just singular entries in that character. Ant-Man will be different because they're introducing that character. But they all...
and if it's largely a two-hander between Iron Man and Captain America, then it'll be as much an Iron Man movie as a Captain America movie. Yeah. But I do agree, I think some of these characters are going to get short shrift in that one, but that's how it's going to be. Characters are going to dip in and out of these stories, aren't they?
Very much a comic book thing.
Yeah.
Like, you'll read runs of Daredevil and Spider-Man will turn up for a little arc or a couple of issues, and I think it's very much in the DNA of Marvel.
It's just something we've got to get used to. I've got an email from Hugh Willis who says, I was rewatching Captain America the Winter Soldier the other day and noticed something when Fury is showing Cap the new helicarriers for the first time. Fury says, the satellites can read a terrorist DNA before he steps outside his Spidey hole.
What?
Do you think this is a case of Marvel having been 3 steps ahead of everyone and foreshadowing the reacquisition of Spider-Man for the MCU?
I don't know. Maybe it's just a little cheeky illusion. What do you think?
I think they're very clever. I think they're very smart. It can be read either way, can't it?
Yeah.
They look very clever.
And even if it didn't come off, having that out there would have been amusing.
Yeah. Nice. Good spot.
Aaron Jenkins has written in talk about so much hype surrounding Age of Ultron as we go into its release in the next couple of weeks. He says, with all this build-up, no one seems to have mentioned the matter of Tony Stark's hand in the construction of Ragnarok. As we know, the next Thor installment is about Ragnarok. Ragnarok being the clone of Thor that first appeared in Civil War, also the Norse term for the end of all things in an all-consuming war, who appears and promptly kills Goliath. With all the trailers for Age of Ultron showing Thor taking Tony by the throat and also saying you're messing with powers you can't possibly understand, is Thor talking about Ultron, or is he talking about cloning?
Now, we talked about what surprises there might be in Avengers Age of Ultron. That's one we didn't think about, but it's quite an interesting theory.
Yeah, and there's stuff in the trailers where Thor seems to be doing weirder stuff than the rest of the Avengers. He seems kind of isolated. If that is Thor coming out of the water, or is it something that looks like Thor? And again, we've also said when we've discussed Civil War that maybe it's going to be a freer adaptation. Maybe they're just using the word in some way. Same with Ragnarok. Maybe they'll bring in something slightly different. But, you know, there's a lot about robotics in this new film, so you never know.
Intriguing. We talked about the multiverse as well, and TV and movies crossing over potentially. John Freeman writes regarding the multiverse, he thinks it'd be a great way to bring the distinct DC television world into the cinematic universe. But he says he feels that an event of this magnitude would only occur as a last roll of the dice for studios. He goes on to say, we've already seen how stress precipitated cooperation regarding Spider-Man and Sony, and this could serve as a model for the much-desired crossover of Wolverine into the MCU. Perhaps a mutual decline in profits is the only reason that Fox and Marvel might put aside their differences to collide the MCU with the X-Men universe. Maybe, but equally, I don't see either of their profits declining anytime soon.
Yeah. And that's why it happened with Spider-Man.
You know, even Ant-Man might not be a success, but Avengers will, even if Ant-Man doesn't make enough money, Avengers will cover over the cracks definitely. There. And X-Men still make a fortune. They're still pumping out good movies as far as I'm concerned. So, I don't know. We've talked about this a lot, haven't we? What could make this Wolverine thing happen? No, okay.
Well, it's like when we talked to Avi Arad about... Yeah. I said to him point blank, I said when he was doing press for Amazing Spider-Man 2, what would it take for Spider-Man to join the Avengers? And he said, when we run out of ideas. But that wasn't the case, because they had loads of ideas. They had this elaborate plan. It's a perception thing. And
maybe
there was more money to be sniffed out going this way.
Maybe Avi Arad saying that on IGN is what lost in the gig. Your fault, Cruz.
Rodney from North Carolina, do you think Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver will be revealed as Inhumans in the MCU when Age of Ultron is released? Yes.
Do you think?
Pretty much. They've kind of almost retconned it in the comics.
Yeah.
You know, there's pieces going around about how, obviously, Marvel Comics is emphasising Disney-owned Marvel cinematic properties and de-emphasising characters like the X-Men, Wolverine, Deadpool, and so on. And Inhumans is obviously, you know, it's a Kirby creation from back in the day, and I think they want to, like, the movie coming out based on it, they want to start positioning that as a big thing in popular consciousness. Yep.
So a resounding yes. I've got an email from Sammy Joseph. We had a few emails about Captain Marvel. Whether or not she's actually already been cast, the character, the Carol Danvers character. So Sammy says, very long, great email, but the bit I picked out was he said, I have a feeling that Emily Van Camp might be Captain Marvel. Her background as presented in The Winter Soldier is in line with the comic book character. As for the name, she would probably go by Carol Danvers in the CAA after everything that went down with S.H.I.E.L.D. If you ever saw Revenge, she really felt like a superhero character. So you know Emily Van Camp in Captain America? Yeah, and that's an interesting idea. It's a weird character, that one. It feels like they are setting something up.
Yeah, she was just there, but it seemed more substantial than just a throwaway role.
That would be amazing if they've done it under our noses.
Sly. Ben Warren from Canada. I just finished watching Avengers, the first one, and as I was watching, I had a thought, what if Captain Marvel is in this movie already?
What?
There is a blonde waitress in the movie. The movie seems to make a big deal out of, or at least they make her seem more important than just another extra. She's also in one of the deleted scenes talking to Cap, so I was wondering why they make her into such a big deal. My solution, maybe she is Captain Marvel.
And on that tip, Nathan Rawlings says something similar but different. He says, I've been surprised that no one has commented on a blonde female character that is featured in every Avengers Age of Ultron trailer so far. She appears to be the main focus, a lot of the crowd shots, and even given her own shot in the third trailer. I think it's odd that Marvel would place so much attention on a background character. What if Marvel has cast this actress as Captain America, Marvel, and has managed to slip under everyone's radar? I would like to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts, Daniel?
I think we're like latching onto every blonde woman that's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and going, it's probably her, isn't it?
When I first saw the trailer, there was a blonde woman sitting in front of me in the cinema. Could she be Captain Marvel?
I think she is. The final one, Simon Hughes. Sounds familiar. Wait a minute. What if Emily Van Camp's Agent 13 is Captain Marvel?
Yeah, back to that one. I should have done those next to each other.
But more than one person has noticed it.
Yes.
So it must be.
It's a thing. And if it is a thing, you heard it here first. And we will replay this when...
We're right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like that Cumberbatch Doctor Strange conversation.
We were right. We're always right.
We were the first people. We were the only people that thought that.
So feedback as always, supershow@ign.com. And should we take a little break? And then we're going to come back, talk about Daredevil.
Another man's evil does not make you good. I respect your conviction. The lone man thinks he can make a difference.
This darkness is the light.
I'm just trying to make my city a better place.
So, Daredevil is here. Daredevil is upon us. 10 episodes, all landed on the same day.
DD Day.
Yeah.
As I've been calling it.
Which is today when we're recording. So we've not been able to watch enough to talk about the whole series. We've watched the first 2 episodes, and we've got a guy on his own watching all of them and reviewing them, like, as the day goes on, which is hard work.
It's a great job, but also...
That's stressful.
Why would you do watch one, right?
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Like, I'm watching them go up.
Good luck, Matt.
So it's the middle of the afternoon on the Friday in the UK, and he's done 5 reviews so far.
Good on him.
Halfway there.
So we're going to talk about just the first 2. So we're going to spoil the first 2 episodes in quite some detail. So you might want to watch it first, but if not, we're going to go for it.
Yep.
So first thoughts on the Man of Fear. Like, what do you think about, I guess, just the Charlie Cox, I guess?
Charlie Cox...
Because you were in the past, you've been a bit uncertain about it.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way so far about both him and the show. I'm liking it without loving it. I think it's really well put together. It's a little more low key than I was expecting, but I'm enjoying it. But I'm hoping it's going to go to more dramatic places.
Yeah, and I think low key is a really interesting word to use for it, because it's 50 minutes. They're all about 50 to 55 minutes, which is about 10 minutes longer than you get on like a network. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that 10 minutes just lets it breathe quite a lot. Like, there's a lot of patience to the scenes. There's a lot of character work, incidental character work that you think would probably get cut otherwise. And it's really kind of like patient build-up to a lot of this stuff. Like, he's usually in the costume once an episode, twice max.
Yeah.
It seems so far. I've seen one more episode, and it seems much more about uncovering this mystery on what is going on about Union Adelaide and various kind of redevelopment of Hell's Kitchen following the incident, the Avengers disaster, which I thought was a really nice way of not hammering it home but kind of weaving it in there.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out what that was.
Yeah, but it's smart though. Like, there's all these crime bosses are going to like manipulate and take advantage of the Hell's Kitchen redevelopment.
And you talk about giving it time to breathe, but you know, we've not even seen Kingpin yet.
No.
2 episodes in, which is kind of... But that's the bravery you can have when you're dropping it all in one go and it's
Definitely.
not week to week. What do you think about Charlie Cox?
I don't really know him. I saw him recently in the Hawking movie, Theory of Everything. He has quite a small supporting role in that. And I've not seen Boardwalk Empire, so I don't really know much. But I've heard... I really like him. I think he's like really sincere, charismatic.
He's likeable.
I think he plays intelligent well. I think he comes across as really smart as Matt Murdock. Mm-hmm. And I know he obviously using another stunt double who looks a lot like him with that mask on. But I think he does the action really well, and I think the action's one of my favourite things. Because we always talk about like, was it going to really push it? Was it going to be brutal? And like 2 episodes in, bloody hell, I think it really is.
Yeah, that scene in the corridor.
Yeah,
That's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, and I love how he's, he has powers, but they don't kind of like explain to you, these are his powers. He uses them subtly, and then you go, oh, you can kind of do that, I guess.
But yeah, we don't know. We might get more of an explanation as it goes on.
Bits and bobs.
I feel like when the suit comes together, and the thing is though, we're putting this out. People would have seen. People will be
seen
ahead
it
of
all.
us. You can tell us.
Yeah, but I like the fighting in the sense that none of his powers are, in terms like physical. Like he gets tired, and like he gets messed up in those first 2, hence probably necessitating the more kind of body armor suit, because he gets stabbed. But when he's fighting in that corridor, which is a great sequence, he's like exhausted and in pain, but just keeps on pushing through, which is the whole kind of it's the kernel of his character. Really, he said never give up.
It's very reminiscent of Old Boy. I think the scene with the hammer, which you should go see after you've watched this. What are your feelings about Foggy?
Foggy's a bit annoying, but Foggy's a bit annoying in the comics.
Yeah,
like he is. I think they will give him more to do. I've kind of read around some of our other reviews without trying to spoil it for myself, but I think he is given a lot more to do later in the show. I think it's more when he's just being a bit zany for the sake of it, but I think you do need that. Like it seems quite a dark show in a lot of ways. I think you'll maybe miss it if it wasn't there. My
least favourite element of it, and I'm not sure if it's because of the character or the actor.
Yeah,
maybe it's the actor, because you can have light relief in these things without it coming across a bit annoying, and it's grating on me. But like I say,
I think that last episode we watched where they got drunk is particularly bad.
It was a bit painful.
It is a bit painful, but
so we've got reviews of 5 episodes up. And do you want to know what our ratings are?
Yeah, go.
I can give you a rundown. Episode 1, 8.2. Episode 2, 9.2. Very positive. Episode 3, 8.5. Episode 4, 9.3. Episode 5, 8.3. So Matt Fowler, who's reviewing them for us, is really enjoying it.
He's enjoying every other episode loads. I'm really looking forward to seeing episode 4 then, 9.3.
9.3.
So yeah, I'm going to watch quite a lot of it this weekend, I think.
Yeah.
That's the problem though. Do you think it does it any... Because it's weird, like we said it in the show before, like already by the end of watching this, we'll have more Daredevil pretty much than any other Marvel character. You'll get to know him in a way for longer than you will probably Tony Stark. I haven't done the maths, but roughly in my head, you kind of will know more about this character, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's great. We'll form a proper bond with him, but you're more the Daredevil fan than me.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm kind of getting a little bit giddy watching the first 2, and I need to I'm really enjoying it regardless, but then remember to engage critical faculties and not just get overwhelmed, because this is the character that I grew up reading.
Yeah.
And this is much closer to that character than the film that we got. I'm quite happy about that and enjoying it, but I want to see how good it gets.
I'm seeing something that's a bit better than the first couple of episodes of something like Arrow, but not hugely, not the big step that I kind of thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But equally... Arrow just kind of tootles along. I'm hoping this is going to go to darker, more interesting places. And
I think we'll really know that when you and I get around to the episodes where he comes face to face with the Kingpin, and that because everything we've heard about the show going in is it's a story of Matt Murdock, but it's also the story of Wilson Fisk.
Yeah.
So it'd be really interesting to see what that dynamic's like throughout the rest of the show.
Can we talk about it next week?
I think we're going to talk about it every week, and also who the hell's playing Captain Marvel.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, until next week, hopefully they announce who Captain Marvel is, or we get another picture of Deadpool on the toilet. Until then, for everything on Marvel, DC, and all the rest, stay right here on IGN.